Okay, so I know I overdid it here a little bit. This is too dark on the trunk lid. And since I'll be pulling out, what I'll be doing is I'll be using this blue here to lighten that blue there. And then what I'm thinking about doing is introducing a little bit more blue in this lower section. I like this, but it seems like it's a little bit too harsh, meaning, the two different values are a little bit farther off than probably they should have been. So I can adjust it really, really easily. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with that trunk lid, and I just did this, so it should be a pretty easy fix. And again, I just want to lighten that value a little bit. So I'm just going to line this up really carefully. Drop in a few magnets, and then use that original blue to kind of lighten that up a little bit. And I want to keep checking this so that, see, if I had really checked that dark blue when I was putting it in, I would have seen that I was getting too close to this blue. So, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's okay, but I really want that corner to kind of pull over, to roll over. And the way to do that is to make sure you have enough contrast there. So I'll get you guys a little closer. And then I'm going to use the same blue in the brush to kind of work on this a little bit too. See how there's like a little bit of a lighter highlight right here in the value of the darker area? And even here too. See how it's like dark down here, but then it kind of fades up a little bit? So I'm going to introduce some of that. And again, it's just the blue that I used for the top section, the local color. That was close. This has white in it as well, which is great because the opaque white in there will help it cover. If it was just, I have a similar version of that color that's just the blue. This is for another painting I'm working on, but it's the same blue that's in here. This is just the blue. There's no white in this, even though it looks kind of pastel. The reason why this looks pastel is because it has a lot of reducer and balancing clear in it to make it really transparent. So if I spray that on there, you won't even see it. But this one will actually cover. All right, let me get my strainer. Get some of this in here and we'll straighten this out. This is nice and thick too. I reduced this a little bit less than I normally would have, which again, this is perfect for what I'm about to do here and try to make that adjustment. Just need a paintbrush. There we go. Beautiful. Excellent. So I strained that through. Got it in there. I got a good amount of it in there, which is good. Again, I'll be using this in 2 spots, so the second one is way more finesse, where I'm just going to be using it on the side. So I'll just be kind of ghosting it in there. I'll get to that in a second. All right, put that aside. But for now, I'll get this down a little bit lower. Now, if this doesn't transition enough, I can always add a little bit of white to it. But I just want to just lighten the value just a little bit. See how that looks. Put these magnets back. Yeah, see, that's perfect. See how now there's a separation between those two? That's just what I want. That's really good. There's a really thin blue line that goes along this edge too, which I'll get. So that's good. Okay, so let's move on. I am happy with that. Very happy with that. Okay. So again, the section down in here is showing a lot more of the black than I think I'd really like. So what we're going to do, we may have to thin this out. I'll find out in a second. But I'm just going to go really, really lightly right through here, not up top here, just to this midsection right here, right in the middle. I'm just going to like lighten that up just a little bit. I don't really, again, overspray on the bumper, doesn't matter. Because it's so, first of all, it's so fine, it's so light. And then second, I mean, I'm not adding that much at all. So that was it. Did you see how that, I don't know if you could see the difference between the two. This has got kind of a grayish cast to it, where this is now blue. So I don't really want to lighten this up a lot. I just want to get rid of that blackish cast to it. And if I get this too high, it's okay too, because it's this color here. So even though I lightened it up a little bit right there, for the most part, I'm not adding enough that I'll blow that up. Just adding enough to maybe a little bit more here. I'm just adding enough to just lighten it a little bit, just raise the value a little bit of it, and that's great. So now that's not as harsh, and that's perfect. And I didn't do down here because I want this to roll underneath the car. So there we go. Okay, so adjustments made. That's good. I don't think I need this blue anymore, but no, I don't. So I'm gonna, in essence, what I did was I just strained it out of here. So I'm just gonna put it right back in case I need any more of it. Which this I have plenty of, so I know I won't need to mix up any more of this color. This is nice because I can actually, because this is a very similar color to the other painting I'm working on, these two, I'll be able to use this color in the other painting too, which is nice. And then sometimes, I don't have any floating around right now, but sometimes if I mix up a special color and I keep it for a while and then it just starts to separate and get really bad, I'll just flush out the bottle and just reclaim the bottle. You know, just kind of cut your losses. Paint is great and it's good to save as much as you can, but you know, if you're not careful, I mean, I buy these bottles usually 25 or 50 at a time. It's so easy to have a million different custom colors mixed up as you're going. So I try to keep that part under control. Doesn't always work, but I try to keep it under control. Okay, good. So I've got the body. I've got the highlights and the shadows where I want them. Rocker panel's good. That's toned down really well. All right, so I'll put the door seams in where the door is. And then I can start working on these chrome pieces. We'll do the chrome around the window and the wheel wells. I'll fix the rest of the seat, finish the mirror, and then do the trim around this back window too. So that will give me, yeah, that'll pretty much give me everything except the bumper. So we're in good shape. We're in real good shape. All right, I'll find a template here that I can use to cut out the, you know what I should have left? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I was going to say I should have left that blue in there. I could have used it, but that's okay. So same deal here. I'm just trying to find a cutout that I wasn't really close to these two door lines, which that's the one. Move this aside, and these seams are, yeah, these seams are big enough to cut out. Good. So the other way I would normally do this, if say this is these gaps in the door are pretty wide. If it was really thin, like super thin, which happens a lot on the smaller ones, what I would do is I would just make an X-Acto cut, and just that X-Acto cut alone pushes apart the paper so that I could still use that as a template. I wouldn't have to actually cut out the line itself. I just cut a line. And that's enough. But then after that line is really, really thin. So you have to go back with the paintbrush and fatten it up a little bit. But because I can cut out the whole line, that makes it a little bit easier, a little bit quicker once I start spraying. Okay, and I used my knife yesterday on something else, and shame on me. Okay. Again, this whole video is where did Steve put his stuff? Okay. That. Get a new blade for this because I need this to be really controlled and you can't mess around with this one. So get a new blade. Okay. Let's see if I can get this done. If not, I'll just leave it as a single cut and do what we just talked about. Which might be the way to go just because it gets kind of goofy up here. Yeah, all right, you get to see it happen. So I would normally try to do that second cut and get the whole line out, but I'm gonna just do it the other way. It's easier in this instance. And while I'm at it, just kind of quickly look to see if there's anything else I can get. I'm not going to mess with any of the rear end right now. That's okay. There is an outline around the chrome, which we'll get when we get to the chrome. Good. I think that's it. And I'm going to treat the door handle and the lock as a separate thing. Okay, that'll work. Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, so remember, I just made a single cut with the X-Acto knife there. What I'm going to use for this, I'm going to use black, even though I'm going to ultimately do it with a little bit of blue too. For this line, I need to be able to see it, so I'm going to use black to do this. Okay, and it works kind of the same way. I hold it down, only do a little bit at a time. And try very hard not to flood that. And also, I come in at this angle here. The reason why I do that is if I get overspray or underspray, it's going to be on this side. And that's the side that has the highlight, which I'll be painting over anyway. Okay, next one. Okay, let's see what we got. So this is kind of really important here. So I'm going to check this now to see if I've got enough of the line. I want to be real careful not to move this template, because if I don't have enough of the line, there's no way for me to readjust it if I move this template off. I just can't see it. So yeah, see, that didn't go through at all. Impressive. Okay. Hit it again. Try to get a little bit more paint to go through there. Wow. That's interesting. I don't want to know, actually. I don't want to say that's never happened before, but that's never happened before. That's really interesting. I wonder why that closed up. Okay. So, it didn't go through at all. It just came through at the very top, and I don't know why. All right, so what I'm going to do is, yeah, I can try to recut these to open that up a little bit more. But because there's paint on there now and I can't really see what I'm doing, it might not work out so well, but it's worth a shot. Are you kidding me? That's my knife again. Okay. Yeah, let's see what we can do with this. The good news is there's a bunch of paint on this now, and the paint is basically plastic. So now that it has some paint on it, the paper is actually a lot more rigid in a way. Alright, so I'm going to be cutting this side, so I'm going to do it this way so I can hold it down. So I'm just opening this up a little bit by cutting right along that same line. A little bit, you know, I'm removing material, but like a fraction of an inch of it. So it looked like a hair when I pulled this out, but that's, you know, that's what we want. I don't want it too thick, obviously. So that's what I ended up cutting off. That there. So now that's opened up, so that'll work now. That's weird. Usually, like I said, it's strange though, that I use that little trick all the time. So I don't know why the paper closed back up. It could be because this is a little bit heavier paper than I normally use, so it might have, you know, just kind of recoiled and closed back up. But usually, or I shouldn't say usually, always, I mean, I'm able to get that paint through there, but it's part of doing it. All right, so this part here got a little bit fat, but that's okay, because I'll be able to adjust that as I go. And another pro tip as you're doing these intricate cutouts and templates, it's a lot easier to flip this upside down sometimes to see if there's bits of paper still stuck in it. Obviously it's hard to see on the other side with the copy and everything going on, but here you really get a good feeling for that. Okay, round two. Now the good news is, like I said, you know, you try to line it up and make sure it's all set. And if you don't get it lined up the first time, or if you remove the template, you're screwed. But I really just had a tiny bit of paint get through there, so it's, as long as I have it lined up, it's not going to matter. I mean, you won't, you know, it'll be right, because basically none of it went through, which is good. That is also good. That is not good. Here we go. I like it. I like it. Okay, good. I know this is going to work because I can see the blue through this line now. So, and it's going to be all right now. So in this case, since I cut it out and it's not, you know, super accurate, I don't want to hose this down with black. I just want to see where it is, because I'll do most of the heavy lifting on this line with the paintbrush. Okay, it should be much better shape now. This goes here. Yeah, perfect. So now I have the doors, the door lines kind of locked in, and I can make whatever adjustments I need to make on this now. So let's throw the rest of this, the top even, see, this is what I was kind of talking about. So when I lined it up the first time, see how I missed right here? There's the first little hitch right there. So that's what I mean. When you go and move the template, it's hard to get it exactly where it should be again. All right, but I have everything I need to fix that and move it and do whatever. So let's start with the repair. Sorry about that. It's right up against there. I start with the repair on that. Get rid of that thing. That's easy enough to do. I use the same blue in the body to fix that. So since I have this in the paintbrush too, now there's a fade here too, so I got to be careful. So I just got to hit it and then kind of take the curse off. I may have to lighten it up a little bit, but I can also check around too to make sure there's nothing else weird that I need to adjust, which I do not. That's good. And here the door line went a little bit beyond the door itself. I don't want to do this so you guys can see a little bit better. There. Okay. Yeah, so here the door, the highlight for the door went a little bit too far. So this color is too light for this, but this will start to take the curse off. So when I fix it, I've got a little bit of a head start there, so I'll add a little bit of that there. All right, that's good. Now I'll get the black. And I can finish that door line. That's pretty much right on right now. So I don't have to do much for it, but clean it up a little bit. Okay. So blue and a little bit of that black will give me the color I need to do that. So you don't want to do it completely all black because it'll be too much. So this is kind of like a grayish, deep, like a darker grayish blue. And I want to open up my reference so I can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so it comes across the trim and then it just shoots over here. So it's a great trim line that goes along here, which I will get shortly. Get this to finish the line up here. And then this is really thin here too, so I'll just fatten that up a little bit. Like that. The rest of it is really good. I'm pretty happy with it. Now with this dark color too, this same deal, if I just kind of touch it on this, that'll again take a bunch of the curse off, and I'll keep doing that until I get it down to the point where you can't see it. All right, so that's really good. That's good. Okay, so there is a darker line above this line here. So we'll get that in next. Turn it this way. Again, I want to make sure I can get the whole run. This this I'm going to add a little bit of the black to it because it's on the darker blue, so it's going to be harder to see if I don't darken it up a little bit. I'm just going to follow that highlighted line. Maybe even thin it out a little bit. Yeah. That's the same thing, it's a back and forth. If this line gets wonky and screws up the lighter line, I can always go back in with that lighter color and straighten it out a little bit. And with this color too, I can do the same thing. I can pop out the end of that little thing too. So when I'm doing this stuff with the paintbrush, I'm touching the paintbrush on there and then just bending the bristles just a little bit, and so it's really just touching the surface and bending just the tip of the brush, and that's what's making that line. I mean, it's like any other brush. It's a lot smaller. If you push down harder, you'll get a fatter line with it. So really, what it is maintaining the brush as you're moving it for the curve of the bristles. So the problem is with erratic lines is when you're moving it, and this is just where doing it helps. When you're moving it, you're pushing it down and picking it up and pushing it down, and that's what makes that kind of wobbly, in uneven line. So that's just practice. And with the smaller brushes, I mean, with the bigger brushes, it's easier to see. Like if you look at someone who pinstripes and they use, a brush that's all bristles like this, you can really see the bend in that brush as you're painting, So it's the same exact theory on a small brush. You almost have to think of it more than see it, because it's really hard to see because it's so small. But it's the same theory. All right. Let that dry a little bit and see how it looks, and I think it's going to be okay. That black line, actually, even though it's not a division in the car, like the door, is also on here too, on this part of the body line. So I'll do it here too. And it wraps into the wheel well here. So this I'll make a little bit heavier because it's more of a body line, not a thing. Okay. All right, so next I think what's going to happen next is I'll start working on the chrome. Because there's highlights on here too, but I'll do the highlights when I get to the chrome, I think. Yeah. Geez, I don't know if that happens. I don't think it does. Okay, yeah, let's do some chrome. So for most of the chrome on this car, it's nice. Most of the chrome is just white. Like all this trim work and everything is pretty much white. There's some fades on the wheel wells and stuff, but pretty straight ahead. So for this I'm going to use just regular opaque white. This is a little bit more body than the detail opaque flat that I usually use. So this is great for just kind of covering up. All right, let's start with the trim line along here. So there's a trim line that runs all the way around here and then continues on around the window. Let's start with that one. What I might do, I'm going to draw this in so then I don't have to think about it. So grab a pencil and a ruler. Well, maybe a ruler. No, because it has kind of a curve to it. I don't want to do that. I was going to use a ruler on it, but the ruler will make it too sharp. I mean, too straight. So basically it starts here, runs across here, follows the window, and then from there it curls into the back window. I mean the back of the window, sorry, right there. Good. Once I get this chrome line and the side view mirror, it just kind of sits on top of that. So once I get one, I'll be able to get the other. Oops, not that one. This one. Good. Okay. So again, I'm trying to feel what the best way to do this is with my hand. And I think I'm going to be better off doing it this way and pulling it. And while I figure all that out, it's drying on the paintbrush. Okay, here we go. Same deal here. Nice and thin to start, and then I'll thicken it up as I need it. And it's a good stopping point. It's a good stopping point at the door, even though it's in line with it. There's going to be a gap there anyway. So if I have to stop, that's a good place to stop.